Our fire season in Southern California. It's hot, it's dry, the fuels are dry, and we're primed for this kind of activity. It was right up against the high school.
It only got a little worrisome when those eucalyptus trees started exploding around us.
Just be aware of your surroundings and make sure you have everything in play if you need to evacuate right away.
To be hyper vigilant. So be ready to go. Have that go bag with all your supplies ready to go and be loaded in the car if needed.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. You're watching KSBY News at 6. I'm Claudia Bucio reporting in your community in San Luis Obispo, and we begin with the Lizzie fire. Now, this fire got very close to several homes in the area. It charred the side of this hill very close to San Luis Obispo High School as well. The fire broke out yesterday afternoon, and firefighters are still on scene mopping up some of these areas. Neighbors jumped into action alongside firefighters as the fire quickly burned 100 acres. Luckily, homes were protected, and today crews have a good handle of the flames. We have team coverage with the latest on the Lizzie fire. Neil Hebert, Olivia Gonzalez-Britt, and meteorologist Dave Hovde. Let's begin with Neil Hebert, who spoke to SLO City Fire Chief about some of the challenges with fall wildfires.
2023 has been relatively calm when it comes to wildfires, but with drier conditions and warmer weather, dry brush like this can ignite at any moment. I'm Neil Hebert, your community reporter in San Luis Obispo, where the Lizzie fire proves fire season is not over. The hills right behind San Luis Obispo High School went up in flames Monday, spreading to brush in neighborhoods near the school. Fire officials often share containment numbers when it comes to wildfires, but what does that mean? The percentage given relates to how much of the perimeter they are positive will not reignite or have the capability to spread any farther. At any moment, a fallen rock or tree limb on the perimeter could cause the fire to spread, so officials err on the side of caution when it comes to declaring full containment, especially this time of year. SLO City Fire Chief Todd Tuggle asks people in the community to remain cautious this time of year, whether that's mowing grass, using equipment, or vehicles.
This is our fire season in Southern California, and I think that's the thing to keep in mind is that as we get into the late fall months and we start to see the Santa Ana winds, that's really our highest risk time period. The fuels, the grasses, and the brush are as dry as they're going to get in the year just before winter sets in.
Crews will be on scene over the next 2 to 3 days, mopping up and putting out flare-ups. So if you do see fire crews or law enforcement in the area, be sure to give them the space they need to do their job. In San Luis Obispo, Neil Hebert, KSBY News.
And I'm meteorologist Dave Hovde. Look, the same weather concerns are around. The air is bone dry. It's one of the reasons we were so cold this morning, yet so hot in the afternoon. The winds are still switching direction. Similar setup to yesterday. Yeah, the sunset's absolutely spectacular, but take a look at the dryness of the air. You'd have to instantly cool the air to these numbers to get condensation to happen. 7 is the dew point in San Diego, 21 in Paso Robles. What happens when the air is this dry, the fuels react in a completely different way. They are much more explosive. So the lows this morning were in the 30s, even the 20s in Paso Robles, and we still got into the 80s for daytime highs, and this weather whiplash is going to continue. Right now, we've got numbers in the mid-60s and low 70s for the coast with some near 70s in the interior. So we're already fading quickly in terms of temperature, running a little warmer than 24 hours ago. Yeah, the winds are onshore now, but here's the thing. They're going to be gusty offshore, setting up in the overnight hours into the morning. This isn't going to be broadly across the area. It's going to be more isolated. But think about fires for a second. They are very isolated. And that Lizzie fire area is one of the breeziest spots in San Luis Obispo under these kind of conditions. So let's head out back to the fire scene with Olivia Gonzalez-Britt and Claudia Bucio.
Thanks, Dave. Olivia, dozens of homes in this area received evacuation notices, but some people were telling us they were confused by these messages. You spoke to neighbors today. What did they tell you?
Yeah, that's right, Claudia. This confusion centers around the names of these evacuation zones, which are still relatively new to the city of San Luis Obispo. And yeah, I spoke to some residents who are still not sure what zone of evacuation their homes are.
We could see the fires all up this hill. It's unbelievable. You know, it just happened just like that.
A harrowing experience for residents of Lizzie Street and San Luis Obispo High School students on the eve of Halloween as a fire erupted on Monday afternoon, consuming acres of land and encroaching dangerously close to some people's homes. As firefighters rushed to the scene to combat the fire, by 4:20 p.m., local residents began receiving alerts on their phones, notifying them of evacuation orders. However, confusion soon set in as some were unsure whether the alerts covered their areas.
They were names of streets and go east or west. And so I thought, well, that sounds like us, but I'm not really sure.
Debbie Beck's home is located a few blocks away from the fire, and even though her evacuation zone wasn't included in the alerts, she and her partner decided to take precautions and evacuated to French Hospital. But the situation was different for Lisa McKenzie, a resident of Lizzie Street. She could see the flames approaching the San Luis Obispo High School football field from her backyard. Instead of referring to the evacuation zone maps, she sought advice from nearby firefighters regarding the evacuation process.
It took a good couple hours before we were getting any information online. So it was just kind of real time watching the firefighters and watching the neighbors and seeing what was going on.
It was only a few months ago when the San Luis Obispo County Office of Emergency Services, or OES, introduced new evacuation zones, urging residents to be aware of their designated zones for better preparedness during emergencies. However, like Beck, McKenzie admitted they were unaware of their zones when the fire broke out on Monday. The city of San Luis Obispo emphasizes that knowing one's evacuation zone is crucial, regardless of whether they live in a fire-prone area or not. Residents can determine their evacuation zone and register for emergency notifications at ReadySlow.org. ReadySlow.org will have the latest evacuation information and any future emergencies.
Great job, Olivia. Thank you. And the cause of the Lizzie fire is still under investigation. Firefighters say the Lizzie fire is not related to two fires that broke out yesterday at Cal Poly. Those fires burned just a small area and were quickly contained. We'll keep you updated on the Lizzie fire here and at KSBY.com. Now to some of the day's other top stories. A fast-moving wildfire has thousands of people under evacuation orders in Riverside County. The Highland fire doubled in size Monday night into Tuesday morning, now likely exceeding 2,200 acres according to fire officials. Crews were on scene Tuesday working to control the flames from overhead, with hundreds more firefighters on the ground. So far, one home has been destroyed and 6 structures are damaged. About 4,300 people have been evacuated, with the potential of more.
During class Monday, paramedics rushed here to El Camino Junior High School after 5 students ingested cannabis and needed medical attention. I'm your Santa Maria Valley community reporter Jacob Dizon, and I caught up with El Camino Principal Kester Banton to find out more about what happened. Principal Banton says after locating the students who were under the influence of cannabis, he, school nurses, and administrators provided immediate care, but then called first responders when additional help was needed. And while Banton did not provide specific details on the symptoms the students were experiencing, in a statement sent out to school families, he advised parents about the dangers of youth cannabis consumption, while also recommending they seek medical advice if their child experiences unexplained symptoms like incoherence, tiredness, vomiting, and inability to move. He says each of the impacted students received the medical treatment they needed and are now feeling better.
What we're trying to do is make sure that Santa Maria Bonita School District is the safest place it can possibly be for young people. And we also reach out to our community because we recognise that we do have concerns in our community about drug use. And what we try and do is educate children so they know what's safest for them.
Principal Banton says this is the first time a narcotics incident like this has happened at El Camino Junior High School in the past several years. He says the middle school will also be hosting a drug education night next Tuesday evening in the El Camino cafeteria. In Santa Maria, Jacob Dizon, KSBY.